The transport shuttle drifted through the misted atmosphere of the frontier world called Leora, a pale green orb that shimmered under the light of its twin suns. Inside the shuttle sat a lone human named Daniel. He was a mid-level engineer stationed aboard a small research vessel that patrolled this region of space. His job involved routine checks on power systems and occasional emergency repairs, nothing glamorous. He had volunteered for a surface visit to investigate a report of unusual energy signatures near one of the local settlements. To him, it sounded like a simple inspection, a chance to stretch his legs and breathe air that had not passed through a purifier 1,000 times. The locals on Leora were tall, elegant beings with luminous skin that shifted in faint shades depending on their emotions. They lived in scattered cliffside dwellings made of crystal-like structures that hummed softly when touched by the wind. Most were curious but friendly toward humans. Daniel had met a few during earlier visits and found them to be peaceful and thoughtful. He expected this trip to be no different. He certainly did not expect his day to become the start of something that would test both his courage and the reputation of humanity in the wider galaxy. As the shuttle landed near the settlement, Daniel stepped out onto a smooth stone platform. A few locals watched him from a polite distance. Their eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the pale light from above. He greeted them with a nod and walked toward the marked path that led deeper into the settlement. His scanner showed faint readings of the unusual energy signature, though nothing alarming. He planned to follow the signal for a short distance, record the fluctuations, and return to the shuttle before nightfall. He had walked for only a few minutes when she appeared. A tall alien woman with soft silver skin and eyes that gleamed a warm gold. Her movements were graceful, almost floating. She wore layered garments that resembled woven light. She introduced herself with a calm voice that carried a musical tone. Her name was Lyra, a simple name for a people whose language was often complex. She asked if he was the human who studied energy flows. Daniel nodded, surprised at the directness. Lyra told him she had sensed a pulse of unstable energy near her dwelling and believed it might be what he was searching for. She asked if he would follow her so she could show him. Her manner was serene, almost gentle. Daniel trusted her. He believed she was simply being helpful. It never crossed his mind that her invitation would lead him into the center of a conflict far larger than a simple energy fluctuation. Lyra led him along a narrow bridge of crystal that spanned a deep ravine filled with drifting luminous plants. The air shimmered with bioluminescent motes that floated like tiny lanterns. The path wound around cliffs carved by centuries of soft winds. Daniel marveled at the natural beauty of the place. Lyra spoke softly as they walked, explaining that her people had lived in harmony with the energy currents of the planet for generations. She said that recent disturbances had unsettled many. Some feared that an external force had disrupted the balance that kept their world peaceful. When they reached her dwelling, Daniel paused in awe. The structure resembled a cluster of translucent spires joined by curved walkways. It glowed faintly as though shaped from liquid sunlight. Inside, the walls radiated warmth. Strange symbols shimmered across surfaces as if alive. Lyra guided him to a central chamber where a circular platform hummed with a steady vibrational rhythm. She gestured to the platform. She told him that the disturbance seemed to originate below her home. Daniel pulled out his handheld scanner. As he activated it, the display lit with unusual peaks. The readings were more intense than he expected. The energy signature pulsed with a pattern that did not resemble natural sources. It had structure, intention, design. Daniel frowned. Something felt off. Before he could speak, the floor beneath the platform shifted. A hidden panel slid open. Lyra stepped back with an expression he could not read. Daniel stared as a faint beam of pale energy rose from the chamber below. The beam formed swirling patterns that resembled coded signals. His scanner confirmed it. The signal was artificial. Someone or something had implanted an energy device deep under her home. Daniel looked at Lyra. She gazed back at him with concern and a hint of regret. She had invited him not only to show him the disturbance, but also because she knew she needed help. She explained that her people avoided conflict. They seldom built machines of any sort. Whoever placed the device, there intended something unknown and possibly dangerous. Daniel asked why she had not reported it to the research station. Lyra said that some of her people distrusted outsiders. They feared that involving humans might bring unwanted attention from factions beyond their world. Daniel understood their caution, but also knew that ignoring the device could risk far greater danger. As they studied the beam, the floor vibrated. The patterns shifted. Daniel recognized the fluctuations. It resembled a build-up phase for a pulse discharge. If left unchecked, the device could destabilize the energy currents flowing through the planet. The result could devastate entire regions. Daniel calmly stated that he had to dismantle it. Lyra hesitated, but nodded. She guided him through a lower passage to reach the chamber. The descent took them through narrow corridors illuminated by soft pulses from the walls. Lyra moved ahead, her steps graceful yet tense. Daniel followed with careful precision, checking his scanner frequently. When they reached the chamber, they saw the device suspended in a crystalline cradle. It was unlike any technology Daniel recognized. Its shape was smooth and organic, pulsing with a faint inner glow. It looked almost alive. Daniel approached it slowly. He examined the patterns on its surface. They shifted as though reacting to his presence. The pulse grew stronger. He realized the device might be sensing his human biosignature. He wondered if it was built to activate only when a human approached, or if it was designed to react defensively. Lyra stood behind him, her golden eyes filled with unease. She asked if he could deactivate it without harming the structure around it. Daniel replied that he needed to understand its function first. Using a probe from his toolkit, he tapped into the energy flow. The device responded by projecting a thin holographic display. Daniel froze. The hologram showed a symbol used by a known expansionist faction in this region of space. The symbol belonged to a group that sought to control energy-rich planets by planting covert devices. They would destabilize local harmony, create chaos, and then offer their own technology as a solution. Once the locals accepted, they would quietly seize influence. Daniel understood immediately that this was no simple anomaly. It was an attempted infiltration. Lyra trembled. She recognized the symbol too, though she had hoped never to see it on her world. She asked Daniel what must be done. He explained that the device could be disabled, but the process required timing and precision. If done incorrectly, the energy surge could damage the chamber. He instructed her to monitor the flow while he worked on the core. She agreed. Daniel began the delicate process of isolating the control nodes. The device pulsed faster. It sensed interference. The energy currents danced like threads under tension. Daniel kept his movements steady. He knew that one mistake could trigger a chain reaction. Sweat formed on his forehead. His heart pounded. He reminded himself that humans had long faced challenges across the galaxy. They adapted. They persevered. They earned respect through deeds, not just words. Lyra began chanting a calming rhythm, a practice of her people to steady energy flows. The chamber responded by softening its vibrations. Daniel felt the harmony return enough for him to continue. He located the core link and initiated the shutdown sequence. The device flared once with a bright surge. Lyra stepped forward as though to shield him, but Daniel shouted for her to stay back. He held his ground, pressed the final sequence, and the surge abruptly faded. The device dimmed. Its pulses slowed. At last it powered down. Daniel exhaled with relief. The chamber fell silent, except for the gentle hum of natural energy currents. Lyra approached, her expression a mix of awe and gratitude. She thanked him with a deep bow, a gesture of the highest respect among her people. Daniel felt humbled. He insisted he only did what any human in this position would do. Lyra said she believed that was exactly why her people trusted humans, even when cautious. She said humans held a unique spirit that refused to allow harm to spread unchecked. When they returned to the main chamber, the platform had stabilized. The symbols across the walls glowed brighter, as though relieved. Lyra invited Daniel to sit and rest. She offered a drink made from a local plant. The taste was cool and refreshing. She spoke of her people's appreciation for balance and harmony, and how much they hoped to preserve it. Daniel listened with respect. He realized that her invitation earlier had not been a simple gesture. She had seen something in him that made her believe he could help. Her innocence had not been naive. It had been trust. As they talked, a faint tremor echoed through the dwelling. Daniel stood quickly. His scanner lit with warning signals. The device had sent a final encrypted burst before being disabled. It was a distress call. That expansionist faction now knew that their covert operation on Leora had been discovered. Daniel explained what it meant. Lyra's expression hardened. She understood. Her world was now at risk of becoming a target.